Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for a 4v4 Team Matchmaker cast on the map Bermuda Locket. Let's go ahead and get into player introductions, but before we do, I would like to remind you to like and subscribe if you like this content. It does help out the channel a ton more than you know. And let's go ahead and start with Team 1 in the northeast and Team 2 in the southwest. Starting west, going southeast, we have ourselves a blue Cybran going first land by the name of Teacup. Then over to his east, we have a darker blue Cybran going first land, and his name is Life Grow. Then to the southeast of him, we have ourselves a purple Seraphim going first land by the name of Nogthar. And to the south of him, we have the Cyan Seraphim going first land, and his name is none other than Let Me Be Me. We can move on to the southern team, or the red team, starting with the Red Aeon Best Faction going first land, and his name is B as in B. And then we have to the west of him a darker Red Aeon going first land, and his name, of course, is Blade Rig. Blade Rogue. Blade is what we're gonna go with. Then last up on our list, we have the two western players, a orange Seraphim going first land, and his name is Null P0. And last but not least, for the entire game, we have a yellow UEF going first land, and his name is Soothe. With all of our players introduced, we can take a bit of a look at the map, a very different map from what we're normally used to on FAF. A very unique map, I should say, and it does have a decent bit of reclaim, around 63,000 for even for a 20 kilometer. That's a lot, and I'm pretty sure this is, yes, indeed a 20 kilometer. And it's a very naval heavy map, but you cannot neglect the land. These little land bridges can spell victory or disaster for your team if you're unable to hold them. They are very easy chokes, they make for good fire bases, but generally we're gonna see Navy prevail on a map like this. Of course, these little land bridges between the players also have a lot of mass extractors, so fighting for them is not an option, but a necessity. And of course, we have to look at the player ratings. The average rating for Team 1 is 918, and Team 2 is 890, a relatively low-rated match, but we have a lot of people above 1,000, so it's not quite a subpar commander, as we are going to see these players duke it out on this very beautiful map. Honestly, I wish I played this map more. I do really like unique maps and unique designs that make you approach the game a little bit differently. And of course, we do have a few scouts now coming out from Soothe. He's going to be hitting the bases of course, Teacup, and I can't remember the name, Life Grow. Gotta get better at just memorizing the names at the beginning of casts, but it's quite hard. And also another scout out from Soothe gonna be hitting up the bases of Let Me Be Me and Nogthar respectively, so a lot of information gonna be coming down for the western team, whereas the northern team, not quite in the scout phase yet. They haven't quite found the mass or time to build a scout themselves. Of course, we have Let Me Be Me with a early T1 bomber. We're gonna go ahead and track that really quick, because I'm assuming it's gonna head out any moment now, and if it doesn't, we will of course just stop looking at it, but is just sorta sitting here. And we have commanders from all sides making their way over to some of these land bridges. Of course, a big thing to note is we have one land bridge per team that is going to be uncontested, and it's going to be important to see exactly who gets these mass extractors. Seems as though Nogthar very interested in grabbing these for himself, although I will say I think this is a very risky move out from Nogthar. Generally, what you're going to want to see is what's going on over here on the western side with Null P0 P0 and Sooth, you want to send 2 comms to this front. And right now, Teacup is going to learn the hard way that he is very, very alone, as his ally, LifeGrow, has not come to his aid. He needs to make sure he doesn't overextend here, because 2 comms are more than 1, and more shit counters less shit. It's something we are all very familiar with, and Teacup playing incredibly aggressively with this Cybran commander. But now, as he comes into contact with the Seraphim commander of Null, P0, and Soothe, it may be a very early ejection. I don't see how the Cybran player gets out of this unscathed. He's going to be in a lot of trouble, already down to half HP. He's going to have to call in his units. He's going to have some miracle blocks onto these commanders. Otherwise, he is just going to be in the dirt in short order. But Null P0 going to continue to fire at him. We also have a Lobo out on the field and a T1 bomber to help add some damage, even a frigate over here. So Teacup gonna have to run for his life. Otherwise, he is just going to be executed at the hands of the Seraphim player. He does continue running away. If he can get a few more Mantis in here to block up the pathing of Null P0, he may be able to get away, but he's getting dangerously low on HP, down to 1700 HP. Oh no, it's a disaster. He's no longer walking away, and Teacup is almost assuredly just gonna go down here. If Soothe and Null want it, Teacup will be dead. And as this is all happening, we have something very different happening on the southeastern land bridge. We have a large push coming out from Let Me Be Me, and B as in B is having a lot of trouble, and there is a lot of rhyming going on over here. But let's go ahead and check in again. Seems as though Teacup managed to just barely escape death, as Null P0 and Sooth must have messed up their micro in some way, shape, or form in order to not manage to get the scalp there on that blue Cybran. He is thanking his lucky stars as the naval game is getting out on full force here. We have 3 naval factories already out for Let Me Be Me, who is taking a very aggressive stance and just trying to push in B as in B. And over here to the west, we have a couple of naval factories out for Soothe. A naval factory, as we saw a frigate come out from Null P0 a little bit ago. 2 factories for Teacup, and 2 factories and 2 more under construction for Nogthar. A lot of Navy being invested to, and that's going to be a very good sign for this blue team, but they need to be careful because this land bridge is now a huge point of contention for the 2 teams. 2 commanders will be able to deal with almost an infinite amount of T1 land spam because they just have so much damage, and especially with overcharge and some reinforcing units, especially from Soothe here, could lead to disaster. But Teacup continuing to fall back, continuing to try and make himself safe. But down here in the southeastern corner, B as in B has bit off more than he can chew, and he is gonna be suffering from that, what is that thing? The sudden hive collapse syndrome that the bees suffer from as he goes down, and he is no longer with us. His base most likely going to be transferred over to his Maroon Aeon ally, and that will be that. Blade gonna have a tall order on his hands as the T2 mexes and T2 factory over here to the east are now going to be under huge threat, and those are super value if Let Me Be Me can manage to get out there and kill off all of this. He will get a huge advantage for his team, even bigger than what he already had. Now, with this situation progressing, this factory needs to start throwing out units, and it needs to start throwing out units right now. Otherwise, this is all gonna be for naught. That mobile missile launcher getting a happy little kill. As over here to the north, we don't have any upgrades on these commanders. I believe I saw an upgrade somewhere for one of these commanders. What was it? It was T2 on the way for Blade. So Blade is sitting over here with T2. Could even do to walk over to his ally's former base and just start throwing up a few tertiary defenses. Obsidian gonna come out of this factory. If Let Me Be Me does not show up with the commander and overcharge this Obsidian, it will protect this base, at least temporarily. There's a ton of eco currently for Blade, and that is gonna be very important in the coming minutes. Teacup sitting back over here regenerating his HP. And overall, we're looking at a very even game state. Maybe the blue team is a little bit ahead, but you also have to take into account over here, we have a very similar situation between Teacup and the two yellow and orange players there. And down to the south, we have a few more Thoms now out from Let Me Be Me, trying to get off some kills onto some of this critical infrastructure, kill off some more of these mass extractors. Many obsidians now being pumped out of these factories just as fast as humanly possible. A T2 mech goes down to a Zooey Tham combination, and the obsidians are going to start stacking up here. Let Me Be Me will have to be careful. Once you start getting into the range of 10 obsidians, the commander just dies in any kind of engagement, even with very good overcharges. As long as the obsidians are spread out enough, will be a very big win for the Southern Red team. And Let Me Be Me is just slowly building up more factories. He wants to take over this area. He definitely wants to be able to get into that reclaim. Has one idle factory here, which is a bit curious, and needs to make sure he's constantly sending more units down. Has a bunch of Ilshevas sitting in his base that could be very useful on this front line, and also has all of this Navy. Speaking of the Navy, it's going very well for both sides, arguably. You have a complete naval lockout for Teacup. He lost his factories, but you have the same thing happening down here between Blade and B as in B's naval excursions. And right now, we're looking at a situation where I think the blue team has the naval advantage. They're feeling like they have the land advantage, at least on half of the map. And Let Me Be Me is now being he's just going past the commander. He doesn't care about the commander. He just wants to cut off any reinforcements. Interesting play out from Blade, deciding to not opt for fighting that commander there. And you can see that this commander, without overcharge, even with it, it's having struggles killing off even a single obsidian. And right now, up here to the north, a few obsidians starting to push back, trying to push into the territory of Let Me Be Me, but unfortunately, they're going to run into some Ilsheva assault here soon. They do win 1-for-1 against Ilshevas, but they will have a little bit of struggle. Of course, if the Ilshevas aren't microed properly, aren't abusing their range, then they will have a lot more struggles with this. And it does seem like the micro is going to be there for Let Me Be Me, who is playing a blinder of a game right now. And over here to the west, we have T2 Navy now finished up for Null P0, but he went for a cruiser first. Seems like a critical mistake to me. Needs to be going for destroyers, as his team is just woefully behind on frigate count. And right now, we're looking at Let Me Be Me trying to get even more dominance. Has a bunch of frigates now pushing into towards the production of both Soothe and Null P0. And these obsidians up to the north, they're going to be able to pick up a few kills onto enemy Ilshevas, but they're not going to survive very long. And this is just going to lead to a very big reclaim field, 3,000 mass there for Let Me Be Me to scoop up. Overall reclaim on the map has gone down drastically as these players got all of the natural reclaim very quickly. A ton of reclaim down here for Blade to pick up if he has the attention span to do so. He even has T3 mexes out onto the field already. He is a very, very wealthy man. We just have to see him put that into use. If he can get all of these obsidians on Let Me Be Me will be no more, and he will no longer be himself. As, of course, the obsidians come in, and Let Me Be Me is going out in short order. Yeah, you can just see those high alpha damage shots coming out from the obsidians, one after the other. Let Me Be Me falling down to 1200 HP, 900, 500, and he's gonna go down. He gets a rank of veterancy at the perfect time with a good overcharge. But he's gonna have to retreat from this area. He cannot continue to just take this harassment and this damage from these obsidians. He's gonna have to continue this with most likely Ilsheva support, but instead Oblivion's gonna come out, and those Oblivions are gonna be critical. 700 HP, 800 HP. He's gonna take another shot from this obsidian. He's shooting the ground. 500 HP. He's in a lot of danger right now. Oblivion turret firing at him as well. This could be the end of Let Me Be Me. He keeps on dodging things just barely, down to 400 HP, and he goes down to an Oblivion shell, and that is going to change the balance of power in this game. Nogthar will probably be sitting on a strong economy, but Blade is going to just be sitting on a better one. as unfortunately for him, his situation has gone very awry for the blue team. Let Me Be Me was not ecoing particularly well, so now Blade is in the front seat with nearly a 40 mass advantage on production over Nogthar, who is basically his counterpoint at this point in the game. But he needs to be careful. Nogthar can throw all of this mass into Navy and really start hurting the rest of his team. He needs to get himself set up to deal with the naval threat coming out from his opponents. Air would be a good call. We haven't really looked at this northern side in a little bit. There hasn't been all that much fighting going on, but overall a very scrappy game with back and forth plays. What we love to see here, a bit of naval fighting going on as the two players with B in their name have left the game and we're just down to the others. And now with a Valiant out on the field, actually a couple for Soothe, he's going to be able to kill off some of these frigates, but there's just too many. It's only about 7 frigates to kill a destroyer in one-on-one combat, or in group-on-group combat, and there's way more than 7 here for Nogthar, and he's just going to start running all of these units back to the base. I don't think he'll quite be able to stop this, but for some reason, Team 2, the orange team, really struggling with the idea of building anything but cruisers. I don't know what the emphasis on cruisers is for them, but both of these players building them when destroyers are what is desperately needed at this given moment. Is he building frigates out of a T2 factory? Yeah, that's what he's doing, isn't it? That's a frigate. Let me just double check. No, those are submarines. Okay. Not building destroyers seems like a mistake, but then again, maybe they just can't afford it. And with a mass submarine, maybe you can finagle your way into a winning naval position, but now with destroyers coming out with this Uashavo coming out from Nogthar, that T2 destroyer for the Seraphim. It's going to be a difficult ask for these players to hold on here. The torpedo launchers are going to go a long way, but they don't survive for super long under concerted naval attack. But with all of these gunships now coming out from Soothe, the Stingers putting a quick end to this naval assault and making a huge mass field for these players to get in. And they have a lot of engineers in the area, and they're already starting their reclaim. And that's going to be huge. That will maybe let them bounce back into this game. As over here to the north, or I guess just to the east, we have a huge incursion of Blazes and Obsidians. Blade has recovered admirably and is now turning his sights on land supremacy. He's trying to knock down this base that used to belong to Let Me Be Me. He wants to hurt Nogthar, and with all of these Obsidians and all of these Blazes already sitting here, it's looking like he's going to be successful, going to be able to knock down all of these T2 mexes, going to be able to knock down all this production. If he can get that T2 HQ, it will really hurt the efforts of Nogthar. But Nogthar has T3 air online, and I don't believe I've seen T3 air out from anybody else, so that could be a huge play. I haven't seen a strap bomber out just yet. Maybe there has been one, but there is no real effort to get the T3 air out of anybody else. There is a T2 air HQ on the way now for Blade. But these Obsidians, they're gonna be a problem. They need to be dealt with. Volthus might be a good call here. Some ASF now coming out of the factory of Nogthar. And these Stinger gunships proving invaluable. As Null P0 going a little bit low on HP, down to 3,000. He's fighting it off. He has a gun upgrade. And the ASF come in, but the ASF are still gonna have to deal with the fact that there are a few interceptors. Interceptors can kill ASF if given a little bit of time. And these gunships doing very well for themselves. The Obsidians have all but erased any evidence that there was a player spawned here. The only thing left is the reclaim. And these Obsidians have gained a huge amount of value. Nogthar now on the lower half of economies in this game, despite having 2 bases. But over here, Null P0 goes down. I'm guessing the Corsairs finally got to him. I thought he was gonna be fine, but he dies at the hands of Life Grow. And that is gonna be brutal. And more Corsairs are coming in, trying to get Soothe as well. A double scalp here could be huge. It would be Blade against the world, 1000 HP. Just a couple more passes from those Corsairs, and he'll be dead. And I think he's gonna go down. Either of these Corsairs get a shot off and he's dead. And no, he dodges at the perfect time, but no! Down goes Soothe. And Blade is left to 1v3. He is sitting on the economy to do it. He will have over 200 mass a second, but he will be taxed heavily on his APM. We're gonna have to see if he can manage it, because if he can't, this could spell doom and disaster for the red team. Team 2 has had so many struggles as of late, needs to get all of these naval factories producing once more, and needs to stay on top of the entire map. He's gonna have to start pushing in towards Nogthar over here on the eastern side, but he has all of these asylums. And one thing I know about asylums is they're amazing. They'll drive anybody insane, whether you're using them or against them. You always love to see asylums on the field. And of course, if there was anybody you needed to leave the hard work to, you can never go wrong picking an Aeon player. As over here to the middle of the map, we have more naval incursions. Unfortunately, though, just doesn't seem like there's nearly enough build power on this production. It took the combined efforts of both Soothe and Null to stop this naval production facility from falling. And now with all of these Corsairs on the field with ASF escort, the base of Soothe gonna go down momentarily, and this is gonna be a very, very difficult game for Blade to recover from. He is still pushing in towards Nogthar. He's still trying to hurt Nogthar. If he can get in and critically get a scalp onto the T3 air, he buys himself a lot of time in this game. He's having to sacrifice territory over here on the western side. That's just something he's going to have to accept. Would love to see some flak spammed out of these factories to deal with all of these Corsairs, but that's just not going to happen, as Janus are now being produced. Going to try and fight the Corsairs with Janus. More interceptors coming in. All of these Obsidians now pushing in, and Nogthar under threat of just losing his T3 air. And if that does happen, it will be huge for Blade, as he comes in and says, "I'm gonna punch you in the face." And Nogthar says, "Oh, please don't. That would hurt a lot." But unfortunately, Blade is not a very kind man. He doesn't care how much pain he puts you through, because he is here to win a game of FAF, and he is doing his damnedest. And that's going to be the T3 power generator at the least going down. Unfortunately, getting close to that T3 power generator just before he kills it means a lot of the Obsidian's going to go down. A big mistake, a huge blunder there, but I believe these Obsidians will still have enough damage to kill off the air factory if they so please. Just killing off the power generator is enough to cause at least momentary problems for the Seraphim player. But he has more Obsidians coming in, and T1PD just isn't going to stop this. He does have destroyers now lined up to try and deal with this, and he's been so distracted that he hasn't come in. He's not trying to take the killing blow, and now with destroyers mounting over here on the western side, you have to wonder if he has enough units here. He's going to have all these destroyers. He's going to have T1 submarines. He's going to be in a good position. And now with ASF production out for Blade, he's ahead on air, and he seems to have recovered miraculously from this horrible situation he was thrust into. And it's starting to look dicey for the northern team. Overall economies, Blade is ahead. He's holding on most fronts and even pushing on one of them, although not quite as successfully as he was just a moment ago. With that Bulwark shield boat coming up, it will eat some of the damage, but all of these units going to be able to get underneath that shield boat. The destroyers out onto the field are going to be very important here. The torpedo launchers that are being marched on are going to get a lot of value because they're not being focused down. torpedo launchers have a ton of DPS. Their weakness is they are very weak to direct fire. And right now, these torpedo launchers may be making the difference in who wins this fight, as the tankier T2 units coming out from Blade are going to be able to just soak up this damage, and the units out from Nogthar just not going to be able to cope. And Nogthar sitting very low on the mass income charts. He's not going to be able to deal with this. A ton of blazes. The hover is real, coming out onto the water, trying to get into the production of Nogthar. And Blade is just doing his damnedest. He will not go out silently. He is fighting to the last. He's not giving up, and that is what we love to see out of any player. But we have a very scary situation on the horizon as a ton of Corsairs now come in. They will try and go for mass extractors, it would seem. There's a bunch of T1 AA over here. Do the ASF respond, or is Blade too distracted? They're going for the T2 HQ, but there's already a T3 land HQ on the other side. These Corsairs may die for nothing. The two structures they've killed already have been relatively superfluous for Blade, and they're all gonna go down without getting any value. All they will really do is add reclaim to the map. Not that Blade is doing a great job of getting it. He seems to be preoccupied with other things, but you don't need reclaim if you're just going to have more mass income than the enemy team. And Blade now starting to win naval engagements, now starting to do what his allies Null and Soothe could not. And he is looking in a good position so far. Life Grow sitting on a huge economy and now going for a Soul Ripper. Can he afford it is the question. And I mean, technically he can. It won't take forever, but it's going to be a slow build time. He needs to cancel anything that isn't that Soul Ripper if he wants that to build anytime soon. And overall, we need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on Blade's economy. He needs to continue to eco up. He has more mass extractors and more map than anybody else, but has to be careful. Rebuilding these mexes would be very kind to his economy indeed, but he is still sitting relatively competitive with the economy of Team 1. He's only a few masses a second behind, and his mass is concentrated. He can throw it into whatever he wants, and right now it seems like he wants to win with air, sitting on a dozen or so restorers and now building up a ton of strat bombers. We could see some snipes coming out from the red Aeon player as he wants to shut down the efforts of Team 1. Remember, everybody, to take a drink, stay hydrated. Get your hydro. If you don't have a hydro in your throat right now, you're doing it wrong. Drink water, everybody. And other than drinking water, make sure you go down below, hit the like button. It really helps the channel. You don't understand. Like, likes, the algorithm. Think of the algorithm as tentacles, and think of the like button as a hentai girl. It goes crazy when you click it. Oh god, demonetized. Hey, welcome to the demonetization crew. Make sure you consider the Patreon or channel membership if you want to keep hearing me say stupid shit like that. Of course, enough shilling, enough talking about ways you can help the channel, as in the middle we have another naval engagement. Unfortunately, though, it does seem that Blade is going to have to fall back. He needs to fight with these torpedo launchers. He still doesn't seem to have enough to just straight up win this, but with the overwhelming number of T1 subs coming out, with the destroyer count going up, with the bulwark shield boats really providing a damage buffer, and with these Zooies eating damage, does seem like maybe he's found a good combination to fight off the units of Nogthar, but he may have a better winning combination as he's sitting on 10 restorers and 6 shockers. And it will come as a shock to no one that these players need to be very careful about where they place their commanders and where they place their critical infrastructure, as these restorers and these strat bombers are going to be huge. The strat bombers, for some reason, just kind of flying over a bunch of frigates. And we have to see what their exact goal is. Seems he's scouting for commanders. He's not going to find any that aren't underwater other than the commander of Life Grow. But Life Grow has presented himself as a huge target, as currently he's got that Soul Ripper, and Blade would have seen the Soul Ripper. Yes, he does indeed see it. And the strat bombers are going to come in and kill off the T3 land HQ. What else are they going to go for? They need to make sure they're constantly fighting against something. And they're now going to go in and drop bombs on what I would expect to be the commander, or maybe the air HQ. Oh no, they're not going to get too much value there. I would like to see these restorers get involved in the fight in the middle, but the fight in the middle is going his way anyways, as that Soul Ripper is completed. Gonna need to use that very aggressively, but there's a decent number of restorers on the field, and restorers can fight the Soul Ripper, as well as 9 ASF. I think LifeGrow has more ASF than 9 though. He's at 11. Not a high ASF game. Nogthar sitting on his own group of them, but the ASF, if they come in and they fight off this horde of restorers, they will all die. There's just not enough to kill off all the restorers right now, and the restorers can definitely try and chase down that Soul Ripper. They will trade very well into that. And right now, with that naval fight being heavily won by Blade, he can push in. But Team 1 looking very strong with that Soul Ripper out onto the field with the increased mass that they have at the moment. Now looking like they will be able to control the map, at least temporarily. Unfortunately, though, Nogthar under heavy threat. If these units manage to get in here, there's really not that very many places he can run away to. With the restorers on the field, they can just cut him down. And now, with ASF production resumed for Blade, he's going to need to be very aware of this. He cannot afford to not notice the Soul Ripper. He has a lot going on right now. He's doing a lot of attacking across the map, but needs to make sure he responds quickly. Needs to get his ASF out onto the field. This Soul Ripper is going to start ripping through the former base of Soothe. And the ASF out from Blade going to start grouping up, and then they're probably going to come in for one big dive on top of this Soul Ripper. Meanwhile, over to the eastern side, the naval production for Nogthar is falling apart at the seams. And in come the ASF, but if he just right-clicks onto the Soul Ripper, this won't be enough. It does seem like that's what he's going for. The Soul Ripper going to lose a lot of HP, but it's going to be able to get up ranks of veterancy very quickly here. It's going to go down into the yellow, but the ASF are going to be cleaned up relatively quickly. The Restorers now going to make their way in towards that Soul Ripper. That might be a way to deal with it, but there's so many ASF now out from Life Grow. And he's got Harbingers now on the field starting to push towards this eastern side. He's just kind of sacking the western side. He's going to lose a ton of economy here. But it doesn't seem like he has any way to deal with the overwhelming number of ASF and the Soul Ripper over there on that side. Soul Ripper going to fall back to try and deal with this attack. He's trying to preoccupy the Soul Ripper with defense while he comes up with a solution for it back at home. Would love to see a lot of T1AA being thrown up, and that is what he's doing over here at this base. With Harbingers now bearing down over here with the Restorers coming in. They're going to be able to kill off that T3AA. They're going to also kill off some of this ASF harassment coming out. Blade playing a very strong game here. He's pushed back Nogthar quite a bit, but he's lost a decent amount of economy now, and he is significantly behind Team 1. But we do have to take into account that Team 1's main economic player right now is, of course, LifeGrow, and LifeGrow is the lowest rated player still in the game. Something to keep our eyes on. More ASF dive on top of that Soul Ripper, but they're just going to die to the opposing ASF yet again. He needs something to deal with this, as destroyers continually pouring in here, but the defense for Nogthar seeming strong. But Nogthar has walked into the water, and now there's a whole bunch of Vespers on top of him. Will he be able to get out of the water in time? That's a huge amount of DPS, and Nogthar might be going down in short order. The Vespers right on top of him, down to 1700, 1600, 900, 400. He's gonna die! And Nogthar, lazy with his comm placement, doesn't realize that he's in danger. Ends up going down, as a huge amount of Whalers are coming out. LifeGrow looking very strong, looking like he's going to be able to take over the map with this air dominance. But Blade has preempted this. He started to build up a whole bunch of these SAM sites. He's going to be in a good position to deal with that if it does come to his base. But unfortunately for him, it's still a huge issue, and he's going to have a lot of trouble here, as the AA is focusing on the Soul Ripper here, but it's not going to be enough. And this western side has been ravaged by the likes of that Soul Ripper. But with all of these Harbingers over here on the eastern side, there's just not really a solution to them. These destroyers that are close to the shore will even be able to get killed off by the overwhelming firepower that Harbingers do bring. And they're trying to make it into the base again. He wants to get rid of one of these air facilities. T-Cop has been silently sitting over here. He's got another T3 HQ after losing his first one. But right now, the air game is the sore spot for Blade. He's played very well, but he doesn't seem to be able to deal with the fact that his opponents just have a whole ton of air units. He doesn't have the same production capacity, it would seem. 25 units sent to LifeGrow. I'm not going down without a fight. Guys, go down in the comments and tell Blade he is a Giga Chad, alright? As over here, the air factory goes down to the Harbingers. And man, it is looking difficult, but Blade, if anybody, is gonna be the player in this game to hold out against all of these odds. That's a lot of flak. That can kill the Soul Ripper. This Soul Ripper is gonna be able to kill it very quickly, but the flak will do a lot of damage. Those ranks of veterancy going to be important. But now with the SAMs opening up on the Soul Ripper, it's going to go down in short succession, but it's going to fall directly on top of the... Oh no, it's just going to fall on top of like a shield. That's perfectly fine. As the Whalers come in to try and snipe Blade, but that's just not going to work. And this is a huge mass donation, and if these ASF do not run away from this area right now, he's going to lose a ton. Yes, he's starting to lose a ton of ASF, and that was not a good situation. LifeGrow throws away a lot of what he's been working for a while now, and now with this reclaim right here on this front, that's going to be huge. And the Harbingers are now starting to push in towards the base of LifeGrow. LifeGrow has some defenses set up, but T2PD, that doesn't scare a Harbinger. The Suck Boy is the suckiest of Suck Boys, and he will suck. I don't know why that was such a weird way to say that. As Whalers showing up to try and deal with these Harbingers, needs to keep them moving, but does have a bunch of Redeemers now showing up. Redeemers very powerful against this. Strap Bomber gonna come in, that's gonna hurt. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Needs to keep the Harbingers moving, maybe even move them back towards your Restorers. And needs to be careful, as we have Salem's and a whole bunch of land units now starting to press their way down this land causeway towards the base of Blade. But Blade now in a much better position than he was just a moment ago. And is looking like he might have the keys to the kingdom. He might have the way into this. Has a bunch of Infinity class cruisers that he's even bringing in to try help deal with this air threat. The Redeemers and the cruisers might be able to deal with this. Unfortunately though, the Redeemer's just not nearly as good as he was hoping for. But the cruisers come in and they're going to quickly dispatch all of this. Those strat bombers and those whalers going down without too much trouble. But there is another Soul Ripper on the field. Blade needs more ASF desperately. He's gonna lose one of those cruisers. The cruisers will be able to put a decent amount of damage into this Soul Ripper before they all get taken down. As a destroyer starts coming in towards the back line, where are all of the Vespers from earlier? I guess they all died with the commander. That makes sense. Sorry about the silence there. I had to take a drink. My throat is getting all irritated as I'm dealing with some allergies. If I sound a little bit weird, that's why. And of course, Destroyer going down. As I said, the DPS out of Harbs is good against Destroyers. But unfortunately not quite so good against bricks. They will be able to pick up at least one brick here, but I think these bricks will pick up these 3 Harbingers no issue. But more Harbingers constantly coming out. There is a Destroyer back here doing its best, but not, I don't think it's quite going to be able to deal with anything. This terrain really screwing with it. Got 1 SAM site for all of its troubles. And the Harbingers are actually just going to run away from the bricks. Which is I mean, you can just run past bricks and go past them. They're only bricks. It's not like they're a wall. They are sometimes in walls, but you can throw a brick through a window just as easily as make a wall out of it. Where did the Soul Ripper go? It's over here to the east. Seems he's still a little bit timid about trying to attack the main base again. Doesn't want to make the same mistake he did just moments ago. And now Blade is ahead on economy after knocking out this entire eastern side. Lots of scouting going on for Blade. He wants to know what's going on, where all of this is happening. There is another Soul Ripper on the way, and it's still just that never-ending situation. He needs to find a way to deal with this air problem that isn't AA. It's not working for him. And Life Grow, he's still sitting in a good position, but cannot assault the main base with his air with anything other than strat bombers. He won't be able to get anything in, and those strat bombers are a one-way mission. So Blade is still fighting it out. As we have a bit of a lull here, let's speed it up. We're not quite sure who's going to win. We have strat bombers out on the map working as point defense, killing anything that leaves the base of Blade. Teacup and Life Grow versus Blade. As the Strat Bombers, Whalers, and Soul Rippers start to take a wide berth around, they're gonna be coming in towards this base. That's a lot of SAMs now being thrown up. The longer they take, the more SAMs will be built. And the SAMs will be important. There's also some ASF over here, which will be important to keep an eye on. The air fight breaking out, the ASF out from Blade, not going to get too much done here, but that Soul Ripper going to lose HP at a rapid pace. It's not quite as fast at killing off SAMs as it is with the other AA, but the AA seems distracted by various things. T1 AA over here going to be firing into that Soul Ripper. The SAM's going to continue to fire. It's taking a moment to kill off things that aren't the SAMs, so the SAMs will eventually kill off that Soul Ripper, and these Strat Bombers are going to run out into the water wanting to avoid the ASF horde. The Soul Ripper about to go down. The Whalers going to be under trouble. A few mechs is going down, but that's a ton of reclaim. If Blade gets his hands on all of this reclaim, it could be huge. It seems as though he doesn't understand how reclaim works, unfortunately. because he could be in a much better position if he did. Needs to build out a better air grid as well, as the ASF now trying to track down these strat bombers, but the strat bomber is going to be able to come in, and it looks as though they're targeted right onto the comm of Teacup, who came out of the water. Why did you come out of the water, Teacup? No, my fellow caster going to go down to the Shockers, and now it is down to a 1v1. Blade versus Life Grow. Blade is in a much more difficult position, but he is the higher rated player. Blade is down on total mass generation. He's down on map control. He hasn't had time to re-expand to this area. Wow, just balling building T3 mexes over here. I like it. I'm a fan. I will not go blindly. It's okay, Blade, I love you. But, you're beautiful. I will not go quietly into the night. The thing that counters air, let's attack it with air. Nogthar, it would have been fine if he focused on the AA. If he killed off the AA, he would have been fine. Don't even, Nogthar. I know you watch this channel. You're a supporter of this channel. AA can be felled by air, especially when it's a Soul Ripper. That's another Soul Ripper. That's a lot of Harbingers. Is he producing bricks again? No, he's producing Loyalists and bricks, and there's a Monkey Lord there. Well, I think both of these players are a little bit drained. After all, it's 44 minutes into the game. It's going to be a little bit difficult for these players to keep track of things. That's a lot of strat bombers, but a snipe would still be difficult, I believe. Blade is sitting underneath the T3 shield and has all these SAMs. You'd have to one-pass him through the shield, which is not out of reason for as many strat bombers as are being produced by Life Grow. And that's a lot of Harbingers. That could be a big issue here for the blue Cybran player. It's kind of weird to have the Cybran be blue and the Aeon be red. Seems like a mismatching of colors. But who am I to judge? As over here to the center, the Soul Ripper gonna be pushing in once again. The ASF number has consistently been in favor of Life Grow, and that's been a big problem for him. He's trying to kill off some of this Navy. These Exodus class gonna try and make their way forward, make their way in towards this base. If they can start knocking down some of this economy, it could be huge. As currently the Harbingers are pushing in, they're gonna be killed off by the Soul Ripper and the Strat Bombers, but the Exodus are gonna come in. They're gonna get some damage down onto some of this economy, most likely. Yep, a few T2 mexes going down. Blade now ahead economically, and he's starting to build up Strat Bombers. If he builds up, it feels like we're gonna come down to a snipe. We have Soul Ripper on the field, but it can't really attack. We have Scathis on the way. The Scathis could be a game-winning play here for Life Grow, but they are just slugging it out. They're down and dirty in the mud. They're wrestling, and it seems like neither side quite has the technique down to get that finishing pin. As unfortunately for Blade, he's back against the wall yet again. Under siege from a Soul Ripper, under siege from Strat Bombers, but he has weathered this storm many times before, and it seems as though he will weather it again. If he realized what Reclaim was, he could have a Paragon right now. Because in his base, there's 50,000 mass here. 50,000. He has enough Reclaim on his side of the map right now for a Paragon, pretty much. No tele defense. He has no tele defense. That is a wise thing to point out here. Although arguably he does, because he does have 9 Strat Bombers just sitting here. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. As I said, throat's a little bit irritated today. We have a ton of strat bombers now coming in. Blade is under trouble. He's only underneath one shield. This may be enough. It depends. Life grow down to 1500 HP. Oh my lord, he almost goes down. One more strat bomber would have done it. Another strat's gonna come in, but life grow gonna be able to walk away in time. And the cacophony of errors goes on for both sides, neither able to get that killing blow. That's a lot of serenities. Interesting call. Nothing. Whoa, wait! Oh! These cruisers are just getting a ton of value. They're just sitting here killing off everything. Okay. Where'd this... There's a lot of strat bombers over here for life grow. But... is it enough? Oh no, Blade is power stalling. Oh no, this is the worst time for a power stall. You haven't been power stalling like all game. And now of all times, you're gonna be power stalling. Oh no. Oh no. Here we go. He who strat snipes better wins. And right now it looks like Life Grow may just have it in the bag. With all of the strat bombers lining up and the commander of Blade unshielded, it seems as though the inevitable will happen momentarily. In come the strat bombers. Maybe the terrain will mess with them. It does not seem so. No, they go for a power generator? Wow. Wow. That means that Blade is still in the game, but he was already power stalling, so now he's gonna have even more struggles. But Blade has his own detachment of strat bombers, using them to kill off a spider. Pretty good use, in my opinion. And if he builds up enough, he could get the strat snipe off. There are a few more shields this time. He just needs to build up probably a little bit more strat bombers, honestly. And he does have a decent navy now that he can push in, try and take down some of those shields. Oh no. Here we go. Here come the strat bombers. They're coming in. They're all dropping their payloads. Will it be enough? No, they won't even break the shields. Anti-air is the king of this game. You know what? This is what we're gonna do for thumbnail. We're gonna take that as one of our thumbnails, and we're gonna go over to the other base and take that as another one of our thumbnails. And we're going to put, which is we're gonna use that as a thumbnail. You'll see. You'll have already clicked it because you're a Chad, and you'll also have already clicked the like button. And if that subscribe button is red and you haven't turned it gray yet by clicking it, shame on you. About half of you watching this video, that's you. Why don't you go down there and click it? As teleporter has finished, laser on the way, and Blade is going to most likely die to this. He unfortunately has forgotten the age-old Cybran trickery. And with laser done, strategic launch detected. Too bad that's gonna do nothing. He's had a nuke defense for like half the game. I didn't see SMD. Oh, it's painful. In comes the laser, and down goes Blade. He did not go quietly into the night. Wait, did both players die? Wait a second. God, I hate how bright this is. Alright, I have to get in like this. Wait, did both players die? No, they didn't. There's life grow. Okay, I could have seen him on the minimap. Also, there was probably like... Yeah, that was the easier way. Alright, either way, thank you all for watching. Thank you to the Patreons and channel members. They support the channel so much, and it helps me a ton. If you want to support me more, consider doing that. But the show is always free, and there is no obligation. Links in the description for both. You all are oh so beautiful. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Willow, signing off.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the